Greetings, family. Welcome to the fourth class of African Spirituality 1. This evening we're going to be, right there, African Spirituality. FYI, African Spirituality 2 will be starting in about 2 weeks. This class has had more delays because of weather and health than any course ever. Tonight we will be looking at
Divine time.
absolutely. I'm not complaining. On my knees, let the circle be unbroken. I don't know why, but every time I'm reading, thinking about this title, I keep wanting to say, let the circle go unbroken. So like how black folks talk, if you will. But I know. I'll be there. This is one of those thin books that carries an enormous amount of weight. And I think that, how's it going? I think I have read this book probably more than any other book that I have.
It's heavy.
Yes, absolutely. And you can start anywhere. Just go. When I think about this book, and I am going to go through the material that I want to go through. When I think about this book, I was trying to think earlier this week of a couple of words that really reflect what it's about, because this book is about the nature of African people. It's about us as spiritual people, and it's about the collision of that spirit with Urugu, with the enslavement system. That's what it's about, and how that guided us through and kept us safe, kept us sane. Okay, so the question we hear repeatedly, or that you hear over and over again, well, the phenomenal thing is that we survived our enslavement, but there isn't an answer as to how or why. And this book answers the how, answers the why. So I tried to combine that with, for me, the most important quality that African people exhibit is resilience. I think that's the most powerful quality of African people. We have been knocked down so many times, it's not funny. Every time we stood back up. So I would call a theme for this book Exil, I-E-N-T.
I think it's an I-E-N-T.
It's a resilient spirituality. It adapts, it adjusts. And that's what we talk about. This resilience, this is extremely important. This is a given. But when you couple that with that, then there's nothing that can't be dealt with. There's nothing that can't be surmounted. There's nothing that they can bring that can stop us from being and doing whatever it is that we need to do. And every one of us individually has that. I'm sure all of us have someone who we know who they shouldn't have made it. Okay. They shouldn't be here. They should be broke. They should be in abject poverty. Okay. They shouldn't have made it. And that says something about our spirit, which is the first point in the book. Remember, it says that our spiritual qualities, our spiritual essence, as a people is inherent, innate, inborn. Let me say, if I dare, acyclic. You can't lose it. You can't get rid of it. That's what Kofi Campbell was talking about with cultural misorientation. It's like when they asked, back about 15 years ago, they were asking if you are having problems, it's not that Jesus left you, it's that you left Jesus. So you say with the Asili, the problem isn't with the Asili having left you. It can't leave you. You can't lose it. It's because you've turned away from it, or you've been turned away from it. Okay? Because this isn't a voluntary movement away from being African. This isn't a voluntary move away from our Asili. And this spiritual essence, these spiritual qualities are common to all African people. And the point is or a major point is that the reason why we don't know is because we don't know who we are. It may sound a little redundant, but we don't know because we don't know who we are. If we knew who we are, then it wouldn't be a question. It wouldn't be a question about our spirituality. It wouldn't be something that we're running from or trying to get away from. We'd understand that we are one. This is common to us because we're common. We're one. We're one people, one spirit. Okay. So what I do is I will always create a chart because we need to contrast ourselves with them so we will know what we are. To show difference enlightens you as to who you are. So I will always pull out those things in the book that talk about us in contrast to Europeans. And in hers, I'm going to just read through this because there are other not more important things, but I have a lot of other things I want to talk about. Just to give you an idea. And I always entitle mine Irreconcilable Differences. So I have one chart that has concepts and worldview, and the other has spirit and worldview. And for the African, conceptions are expressed symbolically. We look at the meaning of the law. Versus Europeans, they look at things literally, which means they're looking at the letter of the law. That's a major important. We want to know about the circumstances, about the situations, why this person did that, why they did that. Like when our ancestors talk to us in terms of spirituality, they talk about the person's not bad, what they did is bad. Okay? It's not a measurement of the quality of that person per se, unless they're persistent in it, and then the definition gets a little blurry. For African people, we look at things deductively, especially in terms of our creation of our worldview. We look at the universe, and from the order of the universe, we order ourselves. Europeans, in their arrogance, they want the universe to fit them, so they try to change everything to fit their model. So they will turn the world, literally, look at the map, they'll turn the world upside down to fit them. That's induction. So African people are deductive. European thinking is inductive. Okay, so that's two contrasts there. Also relationships. For African people, our most important relationships are primary relationships. There's intimate interpersonal relationships with people, friends, family, loved ones, all the rest of that. And we even try to develop those in secondary situations like work, at a game, what have you. And secondary, tertiary relationships are what Europeans are about. Okay, that's their primary relationship base with other people. So it's not to develop that primary relationship. It's relationships based upon functionality, utility. What am I getting out of this? How can I use you? How can I benefit from what you are and what you know? And of course, African people also, we want to know what other people have to offer, because that'll help us to work together better. But we're not going to that, at least in our tradition, we're not going to that to see how I can manipulate that person to give what they have for me. Okay. So, to quote from Let the Circle Be Unbroken, primary relationships create a worldview based on unity, harmony, spirituality, and organic. And she used the word organic a number of times in this book, and I really, really like that, because when I was in grad school talking about sociology, we had that difference between mechanical and organic sociology. When you're talking about organic, you're talking, not them, but when you're talking about organic, you're talking about things being interconnected in such a way that they cannot be disentangled. They cannot be separated. They've been blended, mixed so much, and when I was before, I was trying to equate chemical change and a physical change to organic relationships and material relationships. So when you're talking about a physical change, you can't separate the thing. Whatever it is, you take a piece of wood and you burn it, you have a different chemical, got something different. You can't return it to what it was. It's been made into one. Versus with a physical change, you take that piece of wood and you cut some of it, and you can take that sawdust and literally put some glue in it and put a little pressure and have you another piece of wood there. So there's a major difference in how we look at relationships, how we want our relationships to be, how we want to deal with other people, how we look at love, if we want to use that word. How we feel about, how we expect other people to respond to us.
Bob,
Yes.
living in the Ma'afa, living under domination, it literally alters your brain chemistry.
I think so.
It
Absolutely.
literally alters your brain.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And so it's a struggle from the very beginning
And
to
I,
rearrange your chemistry, your brain chemistry.
and I don't know, which has been a personal question for me, I don't know if it's possible within a generation or two or three or four to get it back to where it was at, to get that chemistry back to where it was at. Kobe Cambone made a statement in his discussion of cultural misorientation that all of us are culturally misorientated to some degree. Okay. Bobby Wright said all of us have some degree of menticide. So that's in there to the point where it's going to take you a while. You spend your entire lifetime, you wake up at 20 and you spend the next 60 years trying to stop singing Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Right.
Trying to move away from this, and you never move away. So that is the process that we have to go through of making sure that our children have less of it than we do.
That's right.
And they know that their responsibility is to give their children, or make sure their children have less and less and less, so we can get back. It can't be done in one generation. It can't be done in a few generations, I don't believe. The Kemetic proverb, you bend the reed too far in the wrong direction, got to be bent even further on the right in order for it to become straight. We've been bent. You know, over and over and over. He said this is a horrific process that it hasn't ended. It's, to me, really, depending on how you want to look at it, it's worsened.
Oh,
It's worsened. Okay. Just like the concentration of wealth in the West, it's worsened. Next category, spirit and matter, and one for African people. We don't separate those two. We see spirit and matter as not the same thing, but as not disentangleable. These spirit and matter are organically connected. Organically connected. For Europeans, spirit and matter are separate. They're separable. In fact, that's their science. We can separate this from that, and then I can study it because it's outside of me, and that makes me objective. For African people, the universe is composed of complementary pairs. Complementary pairs. I love that concept ever since I encountered it. The Europeans, realities are split into opposing, competing, and antagonistic parts. This is a warmongering spirit. It looks for, it's like when your worldview defines how you define everything and what you look for in everything. So if I am a warmonger, then and this is the way I see the universe, then that's how I'm going to interpret every relationship that I encounter. I'm going to try to find my best to find a way to make it fit into that square. So I can define it in this way. So everything, and as we become more a part of them in terms of our thinking, in terms of our scientific definitions, then everything becomes warlike for us.